Hello guys, welcome back to LR Anime. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of BTTH Rebirth of Emperor Yang episode number 179 based on novel. So let's start. To solve these 6 people, Xiao Yan only used a moment's effort. With the void road ahead, Xiao Yan almost didn't need any pause every time. While solving one person, Xiao Yan's body has appeared next to another person. Now, when the 3 strong fighters have completely recovered, they can still stand steadily in the void. It's just the 3 of them and Xiao Yang. You're a man or a ghost? A man or a ghost? The hearts of the 3 people were extremely shocked. They could not imagine that their most proud 6-pointed star array was quickly broken by Xiao Yang with lightning speed. This is simply shocking. Xiao Yang on the other side smiled coldly when he heard the speech. The 6-pointed star array is really good, but there are many loopholes in front of his space avenue. 3. Are you going to continue? Xiao Yang put his hands around his chest and smiled at the 3 people opposite. His heart moved. In the void beside him, he immediately condensed 2 tents again. When he saw this scene, the 3 people couldn't help feeling a chill. The power of the Great Road, they recognized the tent that Xiao Yang displayed at a glance, but because of this, the 3 people who were already afraid of Xiao Yang did not dare to act rashly at the moment. They saw with their own eyes that the 6 5-star fighting emperors fell in front of Xiao Yang, and one had fallen here because of him. Today's war, he was completely defeated by Wuzong. If they continue to entangle like this, they can't guarantee the outcome. If they accidentally put themselves in again, they can't bear the result. What now? At this moment, the strong old man also turned his eyes to the 6-star fighting emperor with a frown. The patriarch is not here, and now only the latter can give orders. At present, the situation of the war is like this. Whether to do anything or not is between the latter's thoughts. Hearing this, the yellow-robed old man's frown was deeply twisted. The look on his old face was as gloomy as water, and the breath between his nose became very heavy. Xiao Yang's fighting power is more terrible than he expected. Previously, the 9 of them failed to defeat Xiao Yang together. What's more, at the moment, the latter has broken their 6-pointed star array. It's more difficult to suppress the latter. I'm afraid they can only let Xiao Yang leave. Elder, if we don't mobilize other people in the sect and combine the power of the whole sect, we will be able to stop Xiao Yang here. At that time, we will have to wait for the sect leader to come back. No. Before the words of another 5-star fighting emperor fell, the old man in yellow robe denied it with a dignified face. Quanzong's power, do you want me to fight Wuzong to take Quanzong up and down to intercept him? Xiao Yang alone? None of our 9 fighting emperors can trap him. Do you think we can successfully stop him with the power of Quanzong alone? I think you're old and confused. The old man in yellow robe scolded him. When he heard the speech, he quickly closed his mouth and dared not say more. Let him go. After a good film was carved, the old man in yellow robe looked gloomy and spit out such a sentence very reluctantly. Elder, but if the patriarch comes back, let's do it. I'll say it to the sect leader. But now, we can't make unnecessary sacrifices. If we don't even want to protect our sect disciples, do we deserve to be the elder? If the sect wants to prosper, we teachers are the most critical link. We can't lose big for small. The old man in yellow robe narrowed his eyes and said with a deep face. Hearing this, the 2 elders around them immediately felt ashamed. Over the years, although they are at the top of the sect, they really can't manage any affairs. When they are old, they naturally enjoy more peace and happiness, and even their cultivation has been slack. As for the disciples in the sect, they don't care about their life and death. They just feel that they are at the top of the sect, they should be treated respectfully by everyone. Until now, the old man in yellow robe dropped his words. They suddenly realized that the root of the sect was those disciples. Mr. Xiao Yang, if you are worthy of being a dragon and phoenix among people, I admire you very much when I see you today. Unfortunately, you and I have different positions and are doomed to be no friends. Today's World War I was defeated by the Wuzong. Please, sir. The old man in yellow robe looked at Xiao Yang again, hugged his fist, smiled and talked. Finally, In front of the two people around him, he made way for Xiao Yang. Although they were very reluctant, they looked at the stern look on the big old face, but finally gave way to each other. Hehe, it seems that you are also a reasonable person. In that case, I would like to thank you first. Seeing this, Xiao Yang also saluted with a fist. The so-called person who stretched out his hand and didn't hit a smiling face. After all, the latter looks kind. Xiao Yang can't add evil words. Although Xiao Yang shot fiercely in the battle just now, before that, Zhong Wuzong also wanted to kill Xiao Yang here. If they really said it, they would be only half a weight, 50 steps laugh at 100 steps. In the smiling eyes of the old man in yellow robe, Xiao Yang's body slowly flew forward and walked west from the three people. Just as Xiao Yang was about to pass the three people, the other 5-star fighting emperor suddenly became fierce. Regardless of the old man in yellow robe's words, he suddenly attacked Xiao Yang. Bang! However, at the next moment, just when the 5-star fighting emperor was about to take action, a fist immediately bombarded his abdomen. Although no fighting spirit was used, the terrible strength immediately dispersed the fighting spirit gathered in the 5-star fighting emperor cyclone, and his body flew back 100 steps uncontrollably, and then followed. Then he looked up at Xiao Yang with a flushed face, and his eyes were full of fear. Hehe, it seems that the elder of Guizhong doesn't want me to leave. In the twinkling of an eye, Xiao Yang's body shape has returned to its original position. It looks like he hasn't left there from the beginning. With a smile, Xiao Yang's face gradually becomes cold. His eyes move away from the 5-star fighting emperor in the distance and look at the old man in yellow robe. Fang Zerue, come back immediately. The yellow-robed old man looked gloomy, looked at the 5-star fighting emperor for a moment, and shouted in a low voice. When the latter heard the speech, his heart suddenly tightened. He didn't expect that Xiao Yang could launch such a fierce attack under the situation just now. He originally wanted to take this to give Xiao Yang a heavy blow. He couldn't say that he could leave the latter here, but he didn't expect that the end would be like this. At this time, the old man in yellow robe was also full of anger. Even if he really hurt Xiao Yang, he was okay. But looking at this, he didn't even take advantage of each other. Didn't he lose his face of Zhang Wuzong in public? If the sneak attack is not successful, it will make people laugh and be generous once it is spread. Please help yourself, Mr. Xiao Yang. Looking back, the old man in yellow robe quickly put away his emotions. The body under yellow robe trembled slightly, indicating that he was not calm at the moment. Seeing this, Xiao Yang smiled and seemed to be indifferent. As soon as his body turned, the sky under his feet never showed up in an instant, but in the twinkling of an eye, he had disappeared in the distance of the three people's sight. After that, the old man in yellow robe looked at Fang Zerue with a gloomy and terrible look on his old face. If he had that ability, he really wanted to slap this guy to death here, but what can he do with him now? He is an elder of the sect after all. Alas! With a long sigh, the old man in yellow robe waved his big sleeve fiercely, so he had to turn around and leave reluctantly. 2 days later, the border between Shilin Domain and Shihuang Domain. Looking down from the distant high altitude, the yellow sand is dense, and the sand dust is flying in the air under the influence of the bleak wind. The flying sand and stones make people's breathing become sluggish. Looking to the west, the eye is full of endless desolate desert, yellow sand, and no vitality. Looking back, I can see that at the end of the line of sight, a piece of green separates the yellow sand from the world there. Looking directly below, in a piece of yellow sand, a dilapidated ancient city is located here. In the vast desert, the emergence of the ancient city is extremely conspicuous. Although the city is also yellow, at least the flow of people in it, but it can always bring a glimmer of hope to those who are lost in the desert. Although the city is located in the desert, its prosperity is not inferior to that of some large cities in Shilin area. At least, judging from the flow of people, even Shenzhen can't compare with it. The city walls are dilapidated, and the wind and sand rush into the city from the outside. It's like a group of fierce bandits. It's a pity that the people in the city ignore it and walk on their own. The pedestrians in the city are dressed very tough. Men are basically open-chested and exposed. They are strong with bronze skin one by one. When the wind and sand blow, They can even make a very small collision sound. They are like hitting a stone and are forcibly ejected. Even the women in the city are bold and unrestrained, and their character is particularly rough. They wear only a wisp of short clothes all over their body, covering important parts of their body, which looks very eye-catching. However, since they can walk here, these women will not be vases, and anyone will be afraid of 3 points when they see them. Therefore, although there are many strong people in the city, and there are countless tyrants on weekdays, the order here is much better than most people think. The flow of people in the city is not crowded, or even very loose. The reason why it is prosperous is that every person who enters the city will leave. It often repeats and circulates, making the whole city in a relatively balanced state. This is a place that other cities can't compare, and that's exactly this point, it has made the city prosperous. Is this Shahi Pu? High above the sky, Xiao Yan's eyes fell and swept slowly through the noisy city from below. He couldn't help showing a look of surprise in his painted black eyes. In this short moment, under the exploration of Xiao Yan's soul power, there was no less than 10 strong men fighting against the emperor in the Shahi shop. The strongest one reached the 7-star fighting emperor. When Xiao Yan's soul was explored, the latter seemed to have found his existence. It deserves to be an important channel connecting Shalin domain and Shihuang domain. There are really many strong people here. Xiao Yan couldn't help but smack his mouth. Xiao Yan couldn't help but marvel. These 10 strong fighting emperors alone can form another powerful force in the Shilin region. The western region is really a hidden dragon and crouching tiger. Xiao Yan didn't hesitate to move. Since he came, he naturally wanted to see the prosperity of Shahi shop. At the same time, somewhere in the city below, an old man with a kind face in black robes could not help but frown slightly, and a look of surprise passed through his muddy old eyes. Who is this guy? He's a third-order herbalist at a young age. Even his accomplishments go hand in hand. When he comes to the 5-star fighting emperor, I haven't heard of such a person in the western regions. In the twinkling of an eye, Xiao Yan's body has fallen into the Shahi shop below. Standing in the middle of the street, Xiao Yan, dressed in a black robe, immediately attracted the slightly strange eyes of passers-by. In this area, the weather has become extremely dry and hot. The high temperature in the air is not easy for ordinary people to bear. Even these pedestrians on the way look unchanged, but in fact, they are consuming their fighting spirit all the time to resist the high temperature between heaven and earth. Even some practitioners who are fire attributes. He also frowned slightly, and sweat appeared on his forehead. But looking at Xiao Yan at the moment, he was not only wearing a black robe and covered under the black robe, but also with such a hot temperature on his head. He didn't even see a trace of sweat on his face. It's hard to imagine how he did it. In this regard, Xiao Yan just smiled secretly in his heart. He can't tell them that he has heaven and earth gods such as strange fire. Strange fire, this is the hottest flame between heaven and earth. With its temperature, Xiao Yan has directly ignored it for a long time. How can it affect him? He shrugged his shoulders. Xiao Yan walked aimlessly along the street ahead. His eyes swept one by one from the shops on both sides. Xiao Yan was thoughtful. After a few days, Xiao Yan plans to rest here for a night and buy a map of the Western Wasteland. After all, the Western Wasteland is a vast gobi. Without the guidance of the map, Xiao Yan doesn't think he can get in and out of it calmly. At the thought of the map, Xiao Yan couldn't help recalling the scene when he was in the Tagore Desert. At the beginning, it was there that Xiao Yan met Haibodong for the first time. At the same time, because of the purchase of the map, Xiao Yan found one of the map fragments left by the Jinglian demon saint, but he didn't know this time whether he can still have the luck he had. With this in mind, Xiao Yan's heart can't help but surge with some hope. It seems that there is an adventure waiting for him in the front, perhaps in an insignificant small broken house. Of course, there are very few real coincidences and adventures in the world. Just like Xiao Yan, he was excited and quickly crossed a few streets, but he never found any adventures. This result also made Xiao Yan laugh at himself. It is precisely because he is too persistent to the so-called adventures, so extremes will turn against each other, which makes him more disappointed as he expects. However, fortunately, Xiao Yan was still very clear about these principles. He laughed at himself and shook his head. Xiao Yang looked up to the sky and sighed. He couldn't help smiling bitterly. At this time, when Xiao Yang looked up, he suddenly saw that 4 fuzzy shadows were flying towards this side in the high altitude to the east. At the same time of seeing the 4 black shadows, Xiao Yang's heart trembled fiercely. For a moment, Xiao Yang's heart surged up with a great pressure. The fighting spirit in the cyclone in his body also surged secretly at this moment and quickly merged into the meridians in his body. After several circulation, it condensed in Xiao Yang's palm. Deep in his eyes, the forest white flame soared, and the look on Xiao Yang's face became heavy. So it seems that today's event will not only bring him no surprises, but also bring him endless surprises. Almost at the same time, somewhere in the city, the old man in black also raised his eyebrows in surprise, and a pair of turbid eyes instantly looked at the 4 people in the east. How did they come here? Western regions, Shahi Pu. In the city, on a street with relatively few people, at this moment, Xiao Yangjing looked up solemnly, his eyes locked on the sky in the east, and 4 shadows were rapidly enlarging. After a few short breaths, the appearance of those shadows became clear gradually. One of the leaders, dressed in a gold robe, wearing a gold crown and holding a 7-foot-long gold walking stick, exudes a golden light all over his body, just like another round of sun in the sky, but fortunately, this round of sun does not emit how terrible high temperature. On its right is an old man with strong body, dark skin, and armor. The old man's face is fierce and fierce, which makes people dare not look at him face to face. His muscles give people a very powerful visual experience. The domineering smell emitted from the invisible is even more frightening. It's like if he is not careful, this void will be crushed by him. It's quite amazing. On the right, there is an old man who is also dressed in gold robes, thin and sharp eyes. His sharp eyes seem to cut off the void. The breath emitted from the invisible goes straight to the sky, just like a sword standing between heaven and earth. As for the one on the right, there is an old man in hemp robe. Compared with the first 3, his face looks quite kind. At first glance, there is a kind feeling. A pair of cloudy old eyes are full of kindness, just like an old grandfather who is invincible to the world. Of course, since he can stand side by side with the 3 people around him, naturally, no one thinks he is an ordinary old man. These 4 people are the patriarchs of the 4 major sects in the western regions. From left to right, they are Chen Array of Lianshan sect, Wu Jitian of Zhanwu sect, Jianming of Tianjian sect, and Yi Luotian of Withered Leaf sect. For the sudden arrival of these 4 people, Xiao Yang was also surprised. He did expect these guys to catch up, but he didn't expect to arrive here so soon. It seems that the 4 families have been disturbed about their breakthrough in the 5-star duty. Xiao Yang's rapid growth has put unprecedented pressure on the 4 major sects. Once Xiao Yang really grows up, when his cultivation is at the same level as them, I'm afraid it will be difficult to deal with Xiao Yang even if he works together with the 4 major sects, so they must wipe it out completely before the storm come. Up to now, the 4 major gates have already ignored many faces. If Xiao Yang can't be solved, let alone face, whether the western regions can still have a place for their 4 major gates in the future, how can they continue to be silent? Hiss. When he thought about it, the dark black ruler suddenly fell into Xiao Yang's hands. The ruler fell and made a hissing sound in the void. Finally, when the giant ruler landed, it left a huge pit in the street. Almost at the same time, Xiao Yang's body suddenly swept up into the air and turned into a dark streamer. When he settled, he had appeared in the opposite of the 4 people. For Xiao Yang's appearance, the 4 people didn't show any surprise, which seemed to have been expected by them. After all, they had noticed the existence of the latter as early as Xiao Yang found them. In the face of the 4 top fighters, Xiao Yang has no possibility to escape. A war may be his best retreat. For lords, are you all right? Standing high above the sky, Xiao Yang's face was cold. The giant ruler in his hand turned slightly, and the giant ruler swayed horizontally, which was level with Xiao Yang's arm. Immediately, he only heard a puff, and the raging forest white flame rose from the rise of the giant ruler. His eyes slowly swept over the 4 people opposite. While passing Yi Luotian, Xiao Yang couldn't help but pause. Others didn't know, but he was very clear. On the surface, Yi Luotian was the weakest of the four people, but Xiao Yang understood that if you really fight Yi Luotian's strength, it will shock everyone present. Seeing Xiao Yang's eyes, the light in the depths of Yi Luotian's dark old eyes flickered slightly, but he unconsciously dodged away. Aware of this, the three people around him ignored it. For Yi Luotian, the other three families also have a skeptical attitude. After all, as one of the four major sects, the Withered Leaf sect is really not as dignified and domineering as the other three sects. They usually act like good people. Everyone can't help thinking, can such a sect also stand in the ranks of one of the four major sects? However, this is often the case, which is beyond everyone's expectation, but it is also for this reason that the other three of the four major sects have always disdained the Dead Leaf sect, but at the same time, they are more or less afraid. Sometimes, what really makes people feel terrible is not necessarily the strong strength that has been exposed, but often some seemingly ordinary but mysterious guise, like Withered Leaf sect. Perhaps it is for this reason that the three major sects have been afraid to attack the Withered Leaf sect. Otherwise, with such a large piece of cake in front of them, they would have scrambled for it. Xiao Yang, I'm afraid we haven't seen each other for more than 10 years since the last goodbye. The first thing to talk about is the array of the Refining God sect. Among the four major sects, the Refining God sect is the most powerful. Therefore, when the four major sects work together, everything will be controlled by the Refining God sect. After so many years, the four still can't forget the Tianjua step on your lower body. Xiao Yang grinned coldly. While his words were spitting out, his feet moved and Tianjua step was displayed. For a moment, Xiao Yang in black robe flashed forward more than 100 feet. Seeing Xiao Yang's terrible speed, Rao was secretly shocked by the nature of the four sect leaders. With the growth of strength, after practicing Tianjua step, the advantage of speed becomes more and more obvious. Now Xiao Yang's strength is just a 5-star fighting emperor, but just like this, his speed is a little faster than the four of them. This alone is enough to say that he will be terrible tomorrow. Xiao Yang, your speed is really terrible, but you should also know that you are standing in front of you now, but the patriarch of the four major sects. If you are one-on-one, you may have some backhand power, but now, in front of the four of us, even if you have a great step, can you leave? Seeing Xiao Yang's sudden outbreak of terror, Chen Zhen knew clearly that Xiao Yang was just trying to frighten the four of them through the terror of Tianjueba. It's a pity that after all, he has lived for so many years. Chen Zhen is also an old man. He saw through Xiao Yang's intention at a glance. Hearing this, Xiao Yang couldn't help but sink a little and his eyes narrowed. Then he said again, "It seems that the four are going to work together to deal with me as they did at the beginning. Haha, I'm really honored. Don't talk about those useless things. Since we come to you, we are naturally preparing to work together. No matter how much you say today, you must hand over Tianjua step." Chen Zhen sneered again, and his sarcastic words fell down. At the same time, the golden walking stick in his hand hit the invisible void heavily at this moment. Immediately, a circle of golden light quickly spread out from the bottom of the walking stick, but in the twinkling of an eye, it had covered the whole sky of Shahi Pu, and it was visible to the naked eye. It condensed into a huge array. Xiao Yang, I personally prepared this array for you. Even if you join me one day, you are doomed to die. Seeing the golden light spreading rapidly under his feet, mysterious runes gradually became clear in the golden light. Seeing this scene, Xiao Yang's heart suddenly sank, and the fighting spirit in his body ran crazy. With a wave of a giant ruler in his hand, he wanted to flash and retreat. However, at this time, around Xiao Yang's body, 4 streamers came rapidly, and in the twinkling of an eye, they surrounded Xiao Yang. The 4 surrounded Xiao Yang with the potential of encirclement. The whole sky over Shahi Pu has become their encirclement circle. Xiao Yang, I advise you to leave with us obediently and save yourself from unnecessary struggle. That will only make you desperate. Chen Zhen held a golden staff in his hand and said in a deep voice with a dignified face. At the same time, the other 3 also released their momentum and pressure and oppressed Xiao Yang in an attempt to deter Xiao Yang's heart. Ah, Lord Chen's words are somewhat ridiculous. You didn't do it when I had such a situation today? What else did you say? I'm afraid you didn't intend to leave me away to live. Since you want to start, you don't need to say more. I'll take it all according to the order, Xiao Yang sneered. In recent years, the four main sects have never given up their pursuit of him. Xiao Yang doesn't believe that they will let go of themselves after they get Tianjueba. In particular, Yi Luotian, an old bastard, has a set on the surface and a set on the back, which is the most dangerous. Last time in Shalin mountain range, he would have died if it hadn't been for Lung Bingshuang's timely action, not to mention that the latter will not let him go, even Xiao Yang himself will not let Yi Luotian go. In addition, there are Chen Zhan and Wu Jitian. These two guys almost caused an accident in Luo Jin at the beginning. Xiao Yang always keeps this in mind. As for Jianming, there is no need to say more. In a word, nowadays, Xiao Yang and these four major gates are completely immortal. Unless these four major gates are completely removed from the western regions, Xiao Yang will never stop. But now what makes Xiao Yang feel embarrassed is that the four main sect leaders gathered together to face the four high-level fighting emperors and strong men on their own. Xiao Yang doesn't think he has that ability. Now, we can only try our best to get out of here first, which is the most important thing. Do it, catch him, Jianming whispered. He was also very clear about the four families under his command. Since he knew that the people of the four families sent to catch Xiao Yang had died in the Shalin Mountains, he was more eager to kill Xiao Yang. Now, seeing Xiao Yang close in front of him, he was already impatient. With a low drink, the other three nodded together, looked at each other, and then wanted to hand to Xiao Yang. Xiao Yang held a huge ruler in his hand, and the flaming flame covered it. At this moment, the strange fire in his body rushed out wildly, and quickly condensed a pair of strange fire armor on his body surface. However, at this time, when the four people around Xiao Yang wanted to attack him, the void in front of Xiao Yang suddenly twisted. Seeing this, the four were shocked and just wanted to come forward. Also stopped in place. Then, under the gaze of the four people, an old man with a kind face and a black robe appeared in front of several people. When they saw the old man coming out, several people on one side of the four main doors immediately frowned. Especially when their eyes fell on the badge worn by the old man on his chest, their faces showed an extremely ugly expression in an instant. That badge is the medicine refiner's badge. If it was just an ordinary herbalist, it would not be worth the four of them to show this ugly expression, but at present, the seemingly ordinary old man has 5 genuine pills engraved on the herbalist badge on his chest. These 5 pills represent the identity of the old man. A 5th level herbalist. Level 5 herbalist, are you from the Herbalist Alliance? There is only one 5th level herbalist in the Western Region's Herbalist Alliance, that is the Vice President of the Herbalist Alliance, so you are. You are the Vice President of the Alliance of Herbalists, Han Dong. The four of Chen Array stared at the old man in black robe who appeared in front of Xiao Yang, and said solemnly. As soon as he said this, Xiao Yang behind the old man couldn't help picking his eyebrows. He was very surprised. He seemed to have never met the old man in front of him. The latter would come forward for him, but it had to make people suspicious. Hihi, it's my great honor to let the 4 patriarchs remember my name. Smelling the speech, the old man in black smiled faintly, stroked his beard with one hand, glanced at the 4 people in front of him, and then looked at Xiao Yang behind him. No wonder you can raise your fighting spirit and refining medicine to such a level when you are young. It turned out to be Mr. Xiao Yang. Your name, old man, is like thunder. Han Dong gently arched his hand at Xiao Yang, who also hurriedly returned the gift. Younger Xiao Yang, I've seen the elder. The person in front of him is a 5th level herbalist and the vice president of the Herbalist Alliance. Facing him, even Xiao Yang has to put away his rebellious temperament. Hihi, Xiao Yang, you don't have to be polite. I came here to invite Mr. Xiao Yang to our Herbalist Alliance for a while. What do you think? Han Dong glanced at the 4 patriarchs from the corner of his eye. Then he looked at Xiao Yang and said with a smile. Well. Hearing this, Xiao Yang's expression on his face was slightly stunned. He couldn't help feeling a little surprised. As the vice president of the Herbalist Alliance, the old man asked him for a 5-star fighting emperor, or did he take a fancy to his medicine refining skills? With this in mind, Xiao Yang's eyes suddenly brightened, and his heart seemed to think of something. I remember when he was in the wild ancient city of southern regions, the third-order herbalist Ju Tai joined the Herbalist Alliance just because he was a third-order herbalist. At the beginning, Ju Tai told him that the Herbalist Alliance would take the initiative to invite some people with excellent refining talent to join the Herbalist Alliance. While strengthening his strength, he also added an umbrella for the herbalist himself. It is precisely because of the Herbalist Alliance that Ju Tai can avoid so many worries and reduce many unnecessary troubles for him. Now, Xiao Yang is also in such a situation. The joint efforts of the 4 major gates blocked all the retreat routes of Xiao Yang. If he was alone, he could not escape from their siege, but at present, the emergence of Han Dong may be able to completely reverse the situation. With the action of the Alliance of Herbalists, even the 4 main doors have to think twice before they start. However, it is still unknown whether they can block these 4 people. Now, Xiao Yang and Han Dong just met for the first time. According to common sense, the latter can never offend the 4 main doors for him. If so, I'm afraid today's thing can only rely on anti-inflammatory himself. Mr. Xiao Yang doesn't need to worry. These 4 people can rest assured that I will solve it. It seems that he saw Xiao Yang's mind. Han Dong smiled faintly, turned his eyes and looked at the 4 people behind him. President Han, what do you mean? You should know that Xiao Yang is the one I want to catch by the name of the 4 major sects. As the vice president of the Alliance of Herbalists, do you also want to insert this matter? Chen Zhen's face was gloomy. Han Donggang's words naturally made it clear to the 4 of them. The latter's appearance of light wind and light clouds simply didn't pay attention to their 4 main doors. How can they bear such a contemptuous attitude of the latter? As Chen Zhen's words fell, the other 3 people around him also turned their eyes to Han Dong. Their faces also looked very gloomy. After waiting for this day for so long, they finally saw that they could catch Xiao Yang. When Tianjue reached his hand, Tianjue ancient tomb could also be opened. At that time, the 4 main doors scraped the Tiansai and earth treasures in Tianjue ancient tomb. Isn't it beautiful? But at the moment, Han Dong's sudden intervention pushed Xiao Yang, a cooked duck, away from them. The distance between them and Tianjue ancient tomb was opened, which could make them happy this time. For patriarchs, you catch Xiao Yang's little friend just to get the Tianjue step on him and open the Tianjue ancient tomb. Why do you force each other and have to kill people? Han Dong smiled, shook his head, stroked his beard with one hand, and smiled faintly. He killed hundreds of people in my family. Did you let me forget this? Jianming stared at Xiao Yang with murderous eyes. She looked angry. The powerful breath in her body kept surging at this moment, and the invisible void was fluctuating violently. Lord Jianming's words are ridiculous. The 4 families under your heavenly sword sect have tried to kill me several times. I killed them just to protect myself. Their death is only their own responsibility. If you have to investigate to the end, it seems that it is also because of the reward order under your 4 major sect. Hearing Jianming's words, Xiao Yang was a sarcastic way with his arms around his chest. You. Jianming gnashes her teeth. Her old face is red with anger. The muscles in the corners of her eyes can't help but twitch violently. Although she wants to say something, she finds that she can't say anything. Vice President Han, today's incident has nothing to do with the Alliance of Herbalists. I hope the Vice President can give us this thin noodles. Don't affect our relationship because of a third-class herbalist. Chen Zhen stood and bowed respectfully to Han Dong. His voice sounded quite respectful. Although the latter may be a little inferior to their accomplishments, Han Dong is a real 5th-level herbalist in terms of medicine refining. Even those who are stronger than him should be treated respectfully. Naturally, they should not be careless. I shouldn't have been involved in today's matter. However, Mr. Xiao Yang's achievements with the herbalists are the only person I have seen in so many years. I have become a third-order herbalist at a young age. Therefore, I hope to invite Mr. Xiao Yang to join our Herbalist Alliance. After that, Han Dong turned around again and looked at Xiao Yang behind him with a peaceful smile. His eyes seemed to tell him that as long as he joined the Herbalist Alliance, the former was willing to block the 4 people for him. Aware of the old man's intention in front of him, Xiao Yang couldn't help laughing. Can the old man's doing so be regarded as coercion and inducement? Of course, even if Han Dong doesn't behave like this, Xiao Yang will not refuse the invitation of the Herbalist Alliance. After all, the Herbalist Alliance is directly related to the existence of Dantar, which is the yearning place of all herbalists in the mainland. All the really powerful herbalists in Yuanwu mainland will gather there. As a herbalist, if you can compete with them, it is undoubtedly a great blessing in life. Therefore, in the bottom of Xiao Yang's heart, in fact, you are looking forward to receiving the invitation of the Herbalist Alliance one day. What he didn't expect was that he was the vice president of the Herbalist Alliance. On the other hand, when the four patriarchs heard the words from Han Dong's mouth, they couldn't help but coagulate suddenly in their eyes. Although they had guessed the reason why Han Dong shot for Xiao Yang, they were still shocked when they heard the latter's words. Can Xiao Yang's talent move the people of the Alliance of Medicine Refiners? Han Dong, as the vice president of the Alliance of Medicine Refiners, is also a fifth-level medicine refiner. He came forward personally for Xiao Yang. Aiming at this, we can know how Han Dong thinks highly of Xiao Yang in his heart. Indeed, such a young third-order herbalist, even if placed in the middle region, is also a rare existence, not to mention the barren land of the whole continent, the western region. A third-order herbalist can be born here, which has proved that his ability is by no means comparable to that of an ordinary third-order herbalist. Therefore, once Xiao Yang joins the Herbalist Alliance, his status will change accordingly. At that time, Xiao Yang represents the Herbalist Alliance, not just him. With Han Dong in the front, if Xiao Yang really agrees to enter the Alliance of Herbalists, doesn't it mean that behind Xiao Yang, there is a giant guard immediately, and this is still an inside information, which is not weaker than the existence of their four major gates. Moreover, in a way, the Alliance of Herbalists is more powerful than their four major departments. Once the two sides enter a hostile relationship, they don't even have to think about the final outcome. Hihi, what I said just now may not be formal enough. Now, as the Vice President of the Herbalist Alliance, I officially invite Mr. Xiao Yang. Please join our Herbalist Alliance. Han Dong's eyes narrowed and stared at Xiao Yang in front of him. His dry palm was out of thin air. A metal badge with a shape different from that of an ordinary herbalist appeared in Han Dong's palm. This is. Xiao Yang's eyebrows are light. This is a special badge issued by the Herbalist Alliance. Anyone who holds this badge will be protected by the Herbalist Alliance. Even ordinary herbalists must salute him respectfully when they see him. This is not only a symbol of identity, but also a manifestation of status. Mr. Xiao Yang, as long as you can join our Herbalist Alliance, from now on, this badge belongs to you. At the same time, the Herbalist Alliance has the obligation to protect your safety. Han Dong's words fell, and his eyes became sharp when he turned. His eyes swept one by one from the four people of Chen Array. His eyes seemed to be deliberately alerting them. Hearing this, Xiao Yang couldn't help but move and hesitate. Then, in the resentful eyes of the four of Chen Array, he smiled and nodded, saying, "The Alliance of Herbalists is a place that every herbalist yearns for. I feel very honored to be invited by the Vice President personally. I'd like to join the Alliance of Herbalist." This video will end here.